Right. Now recording. All right, sweetness. Okay, so thank you guys for making yourselves available to be on the podcast today. I am joined today by Jason and Alan. They're both good guys who are trying to fight the good fight and be good men and good examples for what we all can aspire towards. As always, the purpose of this podcast is to help share information and topics that can help people critically think and assess and evaluate what their stances are. And from there, use that process to create action to better the world for themselves and their local and large community. So if we can, Jason, can you just introduce yourself briefly about what you're currently into? If you want people to reach out to you for different services and stuff, you can share that. And then we can move on to Alan and let Alan introduce himself as well.
Yeah. So I'm Jason. I live in New York, and in my spare time, I like gardening and running, and then in my Babylonian occupation, I'm a surgeon in New York.
Okay. All right, so that's cool. Alan, can you introduce yourself a little bit, please? What services you offer, and where you're located, and how people can reach out and contact you for stuff.
Hi, so my name is Alan Lau, and I'm up by the Boston, Massachusetts. And so right now, as we know, Boston is and Massachusetts very communist. So I'm doing a lot of grassroots things in terms of for the 2A communities. I do the home safety course, basic NRA instructor stuff, because in the state of Mass right now is still a requirement, which I don't agree with, license to carry applications. So, so they can reach out to me on Instagram. Mostly is ALAU_firearms training, and you can always reach out. And also a competition shooter. That's what I've been doing for the past 2 years. Yeah, I think I lost you, Anna. Jason, can you hear Anna?
Yeah, actually, Adrian, you still there?
I think you muted, Adrian.
Yeah, I think his audio went out now.
Oh, okay.
All right, so you guys can hear me before?
Yeah.
All right, why do I have feedback? What the fuck is happening? Hold on, So this is a new system I'm attempting. Let me see. Hold on a second. I have muted that one. Muted this.
I cannot hear you right now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah. Good. No echo.
All right. Fuck that. So, all right. So, from what I remember, Alan, you do you do martial arts and you do refereeing, instructing, and stuff like that too, or?
Yeah. So I'm a combat sports official, licensed by pretty much a few states around here. I'm a MMA and Muay Thai judge and a referee.
Okay.
So I've been doing that for maybe 2010 right now.
Wow.
So I'm licensed in Massachusetts, New England, New Hampshire, Maine, Rhode Island, Connecticut at the tribals where the casinos are.
Okay.
And I have my own low youth Muay Thai promotion that actually having a event in exactly a month away, New Hampshire.
Okay. All right, sweet. So remind me at the end, for the stuff, that type of stuff, share with me, and I can plug it too, so help advertise for you.
Oh, sure. Like thank you.
All right, so let's go over a couple of our topics for today. Our two main topics are talking about being pro 2A and anti 2A states, and then 2A and minority groups related to like stigmas and like how and why we think those stigmas are there, and then how do we combat them. So who wants to start on that? Like, I can share on my experiences in terms of around like being a black person, a person identifies as black. I don't know, however you want to term it. You know, you have some people like Eminem who might identify as black or whatever. But so growing up in a culture,
Like to identify as transracial.
what do you say? Yeah, he might be transracial. Who knows? He's transracial. Who knows? But I know for myself, especially growing up in Philadelphia, there was a lot of sentiment with minority groups that no one needs a gun. Guns are bad things. You know, there was a lot of negative emotion around just the instrument itself. And pretty much the only people that had guns were policemen or criminals. And if you weren't one of those two, you didn't need it. So I know once I started getting into guns, which was actually kind of funny, I was anti-gun until I became a cop. And I realized like there's a lot of situations that happen that you can't control. And it wasn't about you being a bad person doing bad things in a bad place. Just shit happens. Life happens where someone can, you know, want to tee off on you all of a sudden, and you're in a bad situation where you're behind the power curve, or it's multiple people trying to assault you. It could be road rage, like all sorts of stuff. So once I had more experience through law enforcement, I realized that it wasn't about being a bad person doing bad things, and it's something that everyone can use because you never know when it's going to happen. And it's sort of like, you know, that old adage with a parachute. You only need a parachute not to have it one time, and you won't need a parachute again, you know? so, so, so following that, I was like, oh, fuck, everybody needs a gun. I started going around teaching people, anyone I could. I started with my family. My mom used to always make me laugh because from my experience instructing women, I found that they tend to take instruction better, and they have a good hand-eye coordination higher than men a lot of times. So my mom would shoot a dead bullseye once on her first shot and say, oh, I'm done shooting. I was like, no, mom, if you got a reason to shoot, keep shooting. Don't just shoot once. And, you know, just funny stuff like that, working with my sisters, working with my brothers. And after that, shortly after like 2010, I started trying to teach it formally to the public, you know, trying to share firearms, try to share education around firearms. Because a lot of people, from my experience, what their experience with firearms is from the media, or like, you know, something they might see on Hollywood or TV or something like that, but they don't have direct experience with it. And that's the reason they don't understand the benefits of it. They don't understand the value of it. They don't understand how it can help them in their homes and their livelihoods and stuff like that. So I know I had to do a lot of work fighting through that type of stuff and explaining to people it's a tool like anything else. You use it just like you have a front light that you use to see who's at your door at night. You use it for if someone is trying to make entry into your house. So I know it was a lot of work for myself, working with people and trying to like destigmatize firearms and give it a different position in their mindset and in different communities. So what is your experience related to that, Alan and Jason, in terms of like, you know, stigmas and barriers you had getting into 2A, and how did you combat some of that?
Well,
Jason, you want to go first?
yeah. So I guess my formal entry into firearms began when I entered the military, and so with training in firearms, it was more a lot of times for me being a medical officer, it was more or less pro forma. Here's the weapon, here's the bullets. Don't point the muzzle at anybody, and you know, if you hit the targets a minimum number of times, then you'll qualify. And then, you know, I never had to discharge a weapon in combat, you know, thank God. But I had seen plenty of the aftermaths of small arms fire on both combatants and non-combatants, and so initially, you know, I had a aversion to weapons, and when I left the army, I thought, this is a chapter in my life. I'm probably not gonna, you know, pick up another firearm, and then COVID happens, and then there was a lot of unrest and unpleasantness going on in New York City with the
Isn't
protests.
there always unpleasantness in New York City? That's what the TV, media tells me,
Yeah, it's,
Isn't it like the 1980s we have gangs running around in like Streets of Rage or something like that? Like it's just gangs hitting people with pipes in the street and stuff,
yeah, it's still unpleasant. Before COVID, the city's dirty and expensive, but you put up with it because you had movies and theaters and museums, and you could get your sushi at 2 a.m. And all sorts of perks. But then after the lockdown, it's still dirty and it's still expensive, and you're not getting any of the perks.
Yeah.
So,
And you also have the loss of rule of law, right?
yeah, and so seeing watching the news and just seeing the chaos during the summer of 2020. I started looking into getting a weapon to defend my family. And so it took 9 months from the time I submitted my permit application to actually getting the permit, and then I purchased my first firearm. And
can you lead us through the process for that? Because it's different state by state. So like in Pennsylvania, if I want to get a firearm, I don't have to submit for a permit or anything for ammunition. I go into the local constabulary, or not, I'll go into the local shop. Basically, they do a background check at the state and federal level, and then I get my firearm. The only reason I wouldn't get a firearm is there's some sort of blip that pops up on my background check that says I'm, prohibited, or maybe they think I'm somebody else that I'm not, and then they would investigate and go from there. But we don't have to apply for either a firearm or ammunition in Pennsylvania currently. They're trying to change that, but we don't currently have to do that. So what's the process that you went through when you made your initial application, and what was the application for?
Sure. The initial application was for rifle shotgun and for a home permit, not a carry permit, but a home premise permit for a pistol. So
is that for New York State or New York City? Because I know sometimes the states and cities are different.
Right. It's different for New York State and New York City. So for New York State, excluding New York City, you can purchase a rifle or a shotgun with a driver's license, and which is essentially proof that you live in the county outside of New York City, outside the 5 boroughs of New York.
Okay.
If you want to purchase a pistol, however, you will need a permit. And in New York City proper, the 5 boroughs, to purchase a rifle or shotgun, you would have to apply for a rifle shotgun permit. And to purchase a pistol, you would have to apply for the pistol home permit. And if you wanted a business carry license, a business premise license, you would need a business premise license. And if you needed a concealed carry license, then you would need another application. But you wouldn't, get that concealed carry license unless you were somebody like a celebrity or a government official.
Okay. Now, along with that, what are the fees? Because sometimes I know in different areas, like in Philadelphia County, they make the fee for application for license to carry is higher than counties outside of Philadelphia. So a lot of times people say like that's a way they use it to try to make it cost prohibitive. Like one of the things we were trying to talk about nationally in terms of how to curtail firearms access is just raising up the pricing for access to firearms, thousands upon thousands of dollars. So what was it expensive, or what was it around when you applied for your do you remember?
I remember for both applications, plus the use of a concierge service, meaning somebody who knows how to file the paperwork. Using that service plus the cost of the applications and the notarizations and all the other documents. I believe it came close to either $800 or $900.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
Whoa.
And I went through with a concierge service. The guy advertised that he was the former director of the firearm licensing division. Was because that if you don't dot your I's and cross all your T's, then your application will sit in limbo and you won't be heard from again.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because a lot of times, government's supposed to be transparent and bureaucracy, but a lot of times they can be just the exact opposite and very obtuse and make it hard and cloudy and all sorts of mystical mirrors that you don't know. You have to use the right jargon and fill out the right form, and people don't know, and having to figure that out on your own and spend the time and effort and trial and error. I would have gone with a concierge too, because it's just not worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, but also cost $900. That's not everybody can afford it.
I know,
Crazy.
But it is crazy, man.
There is a gatekeeper aspect to that for sure.
So, all right, so you went through your process for the license, and you said it took you 9 months before when you started to have actually obtaining it.
Yes.
Okay.
And when you finally get your handgun permit, you get a pink slip of paper, right? And that allows you to go into a gun store to purchase a pistol. And
what if you lose your pink slip?
Then the process, begins again.
That's crazy. I'm bad with paperwork.
Maybe not all the way at the beginning, but you don't start from the beginning of the level, but you definitely lose your power-ups.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Sorry.
Wow.
So go ahead. You said after 9 months, you get your documents. And what was your next step like?
So you go to Police Plaza in New York City, and they will issue you a pink slip. We call it the pink form. And with that pink form, you can go into any FFL and purchase a handgun. Now, you only have 30 days to complete that transaction.
What transaction? The handgun transaction?
The actual purchase of the handgun. Before you have to apply for an extension, or you lose that 30-day window.
So what happened? So let me ask a question real quick. So you got the pink slip.
Yes.
You go to the gun store, right? And then let's say you have a I don't know. Let's say Glock 19, right? You want to buy Glock 19. Let's say this on the roster, you can buy it, whatever. So you want to buy Glock 19. So now you do a 4473, right?
Well, you do the background check.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
you do the
it's got to fall within the New York Safe Act. So there's a maximum of 10 rounds.
right.
Can't have any scary features, etc.
Right.
And
Yeah, but handgun doesn't have the scary features, right? The handgun is mostly
The capacity.
the capacity, and I believe the threading of the barrel muzzle.
No threaded barrels?
No
like
threaded barrels.
the capacity,
Not for
and maybe like Massachusetts, like 10-pound.
You're breaking up, Alan. You said
Oh.
in Massachusetts what?
Also in Massachusetts they have to be on the roster. So now they kind of expanding the roster, just like California. But California's roster hasn't been updated, but our roster kind of updated quite often. And so in Massachusetts,
So the roster is an approved list of firearms you can purchase?
in Massachusetts. Yes, from the FFL.
Wow, I didn't even know that. See, like I'm learning so much from you guys. I didn't know they had rosters of what you can get.
So they from the FFL. There's a list of things, but if you from private sale, which they allow to sell 4 private firearms per year, that doesn't need to be on the list.
Okay.
So
you
that's a
said
little
as a
different.
private sale, they have how many per year?
4. They can sell 4 per year. So you can do for personal transfer 4 per year, which you still have to go through the portal of Mass, because Massachusetts forces the firearm registration at the point of
Okay.
purchase and at the point of transfer.
Okay.
Right. New York has something similar. So once you purchase your pistol, you have to take that pistol, locked in the case, and ammunition, unloaded. You have to take that pistol to New York Plaza, to New York One Police Plaza, to have them, documented onto your license, onto your pistol license card.
Wow. All right, that's crazy. So in Pennsylvania, you don't have to do any of that. But they're trying to force legislation through to change it. You don't have limits on private sales. You don't have limits on what you can purchase. You do not have limits on, threading and other features on it or anything like that. So, but they're trying to change this legislation. I know they were trying to do the whole thing where they were trying to get people to get a license for ammunition purchases. They're also trying to limit how much you could purchase. And I'm not sure. I think they may have been trying to push something also for the type and quantity of firearms as well. All right, so you go down to New York Plaza, you have your firearm. How do you get ammunition and stuff like that? What's that like?
So ammunition, there's no registration. You can purchase ammunition, without a license.
Okay.
So the handguns and the rifles are the most regulated items.
That's interesting. I thought it would be the opposite.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put it past the state to try to take that one away as well.
Okay. Alan, what's the process like where you're at?
So it's a little different. I think this is actually kind of eye-opening for me as well. So in Massachusetts, in order to touch a gun or touch ammo, you need a license. So at one point as a young man, I first came to America, and then somehow I stumbled onto a gun store. I walked in and then saw the guns on the wall, and I was like, oh, can I take a look? And then the first thing the guy says, okay, I see a license. And I said, I don't have one. And he said, no, you cannot handle the firearms.
He wouldn't let you touch it without having.
Nope. So I pretty much walked out the door, didn't think much about it. So in Massachusetts, there's a list of approved firearm safety courses, which is like 14 or 15 of them, and NRA home safety, as well as the basic pistol is one of them, and also actually hunting classes is actually constitute as a safety class as well. So once you take that safety course, then you can apply. In Massachusetts, it's $100 for 6 years application. So once you have the certification, you call up your local police station, whichever town you live in. So in Massachusetts, it's not by county, it's by the town or city that you live in. And there's no standardization between towns and city of how to handle the requirements per se.
Okay.
So the town I lived in at that time, all they needed was, well, the application, the certifications, 3 references of letters, and $100. And the way that the city did it was, the same officer will have 1 day, 4 hours, one day out of the week, and for 4 hours of that day, we'll see the applicant for the interview. So by the time I called up, I was about 3 months out, So once I had my stuff, so I was 3 months out. And then after the interview, they were about another 3 months before I got my license. So they call you up and then you go down to your local police station and pick up the license. But similar to Jason, before the Bruin decisions, they were targets only and unrestricted.
Okay.
So if you have an unrestricted license, then you can pretty much, EDC everything that you need, that you want. If you have a restricted, then it's only restricted to usually hunting and sports.
Now the unrestricted one, is there a different process for that, or is it still the same process?
It's
You
the
just
same process. It depends on the chief of police of the town that you're living to decide to give it to you or not, like to
Okay.
unrestricted. But ever since the Bruin decisions, they changed it
Okay.
about 2 weeks ago. So
All right.
now there's no longer like restricted licenses are no longer issued. And so once you are non-prohibited person, then they have to issue you the unrestricted.
Okay.
But
Thank
yeah, so this is a little different. We can't buy ammo without license in Massachusetts. A lot of places won't. So even though it's not official illegal, but a lot of places don't do online purchases for ammos in Massachusetts. Yeah, this all depends. Sometimes they don't want to deal with the AG in Massachusetts or whatever. So
you say you
that's
do
the
need a license,
process.
or you don't need a license to purchase ammunition? You say you do need one, right?
You do, but if you buy online, a lot of times they will ask you to upload your license.
Okay.
And then once they have it on file, they will ship to you. But a lot of places they won't even do that. They just say, I'm not dealing with Massachusetts.
Okay.
So,
All right.
New
So
York, in New York,
Sure,
for
Jason.
online purchases, you can only ship to a FFL, even for ammunition.
So for the ammunition, would the FFL check you when you come in, or how does that work?
You just ship it to an FFL. So, for example, if you're looking to purchase some specialty heavy grain ammunition, or some kind of light competition grain, then you just ship it to the FFL of your choice, and you don't need a license to purchase from the FFL. Now the FFL, of course, is going to put a surcharge on that
Nice,
ammunition.
nice. Once again, you have the cost prohibition where they try to make it too expensive to protect yourself. That's crazy.
yeah, how much is that do they charge per order? How's that work?
The place that I typically shop at, they will put a 10% surcharge on the overall cost of.
That's actually pretty reasonable.
item.
I mean, if you're going to be molested by bureaucracy and surcharges and stuff, that's actually not as molestive as it could be, I imagine. But that's because I know, like in Pennsylvania, where you do like you buy a firearm, you can get it buy it online, but you have to get it shipped to a FFL. A lot of them will charge you, almost $100 just for the background check and receiving it for you, which can, be a barrier to some people, but it's not bad.
So in Pennsylvania, the transfer fee is $100 per.
So it depends. It depends. It's actually only like to have them do the background check for you, Alan. I think it's only like maybe $5 or $10 because when you call it the state, they run a background check for you. But the actual gun shop itself,
right,
they charge whatever they want to charge. So a lot of times they'll charge $50, $60, $70 on top of whatever you're doing for the service of them doing it for you.
Wow. So in Massachusetts, it's between $25 to $40.
Oh, you lucky! All right, so we gotta go up to Massachusetts, man. It sounded better and better if you talk.
Well, you can't have any quote unquote assault weapon up here. So.
Oh, that's terrible! It's terrible. I'll just do wooden stocks for everything. Wooden stocks for everything, man. There you go.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, so it seems like the areas are different because I remember when I got my first license to carry, I was 21 in college, and I think I just wanted it. I didn't even have a gun. I just want my license. And I literally walked in gave him my ID, and gave him like $20 and walked out with it.
Wow.
Same day, no appointment. And like you're talking about like having to do interviews by the state statute for Pennsylvania, you don't have to do an interview or references. But they've done that in Philadelphia where you have to get references, you have to come in and do an interview and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you know, some people would, even if you don't have anything to hide, what if you don't know a lot of people? What if you work all the time? I don't have 3 people I could use as a reference, you know?
Right.
I
Yeah.
take care of my family and I go to work. Like I'm working 2 or 3 jobs. I don't socialize, you know?
Right.
Or
Within a
even-
week after Bruin passed or the Bruin decision was passed, was it the governor of New York held an emergency legislative session and put out all
emergency, they're gonna
rules.
try to get guns.
Yeah, now you have to submit your social media posts, and then the real kicker is you have to attend a safety course that's administered by the state police, but the state police have not even received guidelines on how to set criteria for the learning points for the course. They haven't even set course objectives. So
Yeah.
so like that all that is that's like another rate limiting step, because they put that responsibility on New York State Police, but New York State Police, I believe they have until September to come up with a proposed curriculum.
They just deny. That's the government is so good at delaying and denying stuff. That's their forte. We'll tie you up in
Yeah.
paperwork and bullshit that we don't even have the bullshit yet, but we'll tie you up with it. We don't even have the course yet, but we'll tie you up in it. That's
Right.
crazy, man. I mean, like in New Jersey, which is the closest area to me, I know you cannot get a firearm in New Jersey unless you are the chief of police. Almost like it's like as a civilian, like there's almost no way to get it. Even with all the right paperwork, they have historically just sit on your application. As Jason was saying, they just won't reply. You'll submit the money, and they're just sitting on it, waiting. So that's super crazy, man. I haven't had emergency need for a firearm, but I have known people that have needed emergency need for firearms. You know, if you have a spouse that you're estranged from, or if you recently move into a bad area, because I know a lot of people move into Philadelphia and they don't know the different parts of Philadelphia. Like Philadelphia is outside of a few key areas with mostly poverty-stricken ghettos. That's how it's been like when I was growing up. So if you look at the address, it's like, oh, this is a fantastic apartment. It's only $500 a month. And you do your first, last, and securities deposit. You try to move in, you're like, oh shit, that's a crack house right there. Oh shit, someone just got mugged. Like, so people move in from out of town, looking at they want to go to Temple or UPenn or Drexel, all these illustrious schools, and they don't know like these places are in the middle of the hood. So you take like one, you're looking for your school.
South of Vine and east of 40th.
Yeah, man. So it's hilarious. And then people coming in Philadelphia, they're looking for the classes, the first day of schools, and they're looking down their map, and they walk off the campus. They're like, uh-oh, I'm in a dangerous area. So I have known people who've needed firearms in emergencies and waiting months, like you said, Jason, 9 months, or waiting, for a chief law enforcement officer, if you out to okay it or okay the type of ammunition or something like that, you could be dead. Which is, hopefully you're not in that situation, but it's just, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, you got
or
to
it can be
plan
scary.
ahead.
What do you say?
You got to plan ahead.
Yeah, you got to plan. Yeah, you got to
Sure.
plan ahead when you got to defend yourself.
Well, you got to plan ahead in terms of where, like, if you know where you're moving to and stuff
Yeah.
like that, you got to plan ahead.
I agree, man. I laugh at people when they tell me they never visited. They just looked at the address and the rate. I was like, oh, come on, buddy. Like, you didn't even look on Google Maps. Like, what are you doing? Like, come on, man.
All right, so there's one thing that's crazy about Massachusetts gun laws, which is, all right, so let's say I live in a town they consider green town, like before the whole Bruin decision thing. So meaning the chiefs, give out, unless you're not a prohibited person, they'll give you a license to carry, right? So let's say this town, the city is, 15 miles outside of the Boston. So now you have the license to carry. You can carry anywhere you want within the state or whatever state that honor your licenses. So in the other words, so if you live in, let's say 10 miles out, you have the license, right? Then you decide to move to the town that don't give out licenses, your license still good until you're up for renewal.
Okay.
So let's say Boston doesn't give out license to carry, they only give out the restricted. So now let's say you live in this town, city for like a year, you got your license or license to carry. Then for whatever reason, you're moving to this, what they call the red town in a way. They don't give out the LTC at that point, unrestricted at that point. You are still good. So you're still good for 5 years. Like, so
Okay.
you can
I
still
was
have
about
a
to ask you
firearm.
how long the license is for. In Pennsylvania, it's 5
6
years
years.
also.
Well, here
It's
6
5
years, but they
Okay.
actually maybe 2 weeks ago, last week, they tried to impose the laws to change the length of LTC from 6 to 3, and that got struck down. Luckily,
Yeah, man. Government's doing what it does, man. Doing a good job. Let me see. I'm double checking mine. I think mine is, yeah, mine's 5 years.
yeah,
Jason, what about your stuff? How long does
40.
it last?
New York
Jake?
is good for, was it, actually, no, New York is good for 3 years.
Oh man. You got
and how much for renewal? Jason?
Renewal, it's still gonna cost you, upwards of, if you renew both the license and the pistol and the shotgun rifle, it'll still cost you upwards of 500, if not more.
Whoa.
crazy, man. Phil, yeah, Pennsylvania's like, I don't know, $40.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is an interesting state because outside of Philly, it's very pro-gun as far as I know.
It is. So there's a joke I have. My friends and I used to call like Pennsatucky, you know. So outside of outside of Harrisburg and outside of Philadelphia, it's just you got Amish, you got farmland, you got a lot, like you got people that
Right.
are living different lifestyles. But Philadelphia and Harrisburg, they consider themselves cities of the first order or first class. So they have all these rules and stuff that they do just for themselves, like like DC or something like that. So that's all right.
The Amish are strapped. Is that true?
What do you say, bro?
I heard the Amish are strapped. Is that true?
Oh yeah, definitely the Amish are strapped, bro. So it's funny because they have this whole thing where they're against technology, but they're not running around with black powder rifles. They're not they're not doing that. They're not doing muzzle loaders at like 50 yards, 50 paces. There's a really funny article which I'll probably find and tag when we finish this podcast. But there's a funny article about how there were some Amish that got kidnapped in Mexico, and they went to the Mexican authorities to see about getting assistance because they were kidnapped by, I believe, cartel members or something like that. And the government did what they usually do, like, oh, I can't do anything, like whatever. Just try to reason with the cartel, see what they suggest. So the Amish, from what I recall from the story, I don't have it in front of me, but basically they either got outside contractors or outside training. They armed up and stormed and got their people back and then set up sentry points. So like after that, they learned like, all right, we're just gonna make our stuff a non-permissible area, and it's like unless we let you on our land, you can't come on anymore. So like I like that. Like they was like, oh, you're not gonna help us, well, fuck you guys. They got training, they got armaments, and they got their people back. Like they had a whole shootout with like the cartel. They got their people back and then set up hard points so they wouldn't be victims again. I was like, see, they're doing something right over there. So I like that. I like that. That's super cool. All right, so that's cool hearing about the process. It's also kind of scary hearing about the process. What are some things you guys ran into? Jason, in your profession, which you work in the medical field, I have friends that are in medical field, and a lot of them, I can't think of one that is pro 2A or pro personal protection. As you said, I'm looking from the outside in, but a lot of them just see the trauma and the damage it does, and they have different political affiliations or religious beliefs. How do you navigate that, and what is your experience, working in that field and also being pro 2A? Because you talked about how like in 2020 things changed and you decided to get some armaments and stuff. What is your experience with that? How have you seen things?
Sure. I decided that I had to be armed because I didn't want to be the person, I didn't want to be the person who needed a firearm and not had one. I'd rather to be the person who had the firearm and not need it, right? And so that was the mindset that I had. Now, if you go into the academic world, the ivory tower, of which medicine sits comfortably in, you'll find folks who for the most part don't like weapons. They shy away from it. They find violence offensive and aberrant, and in a way sort of beneath them. And so you'll find that mindset throughout academia, and so when I'm in the hospital, or in in certain circles, it's just a topic that I don't that I don't broach, I don't bring up. And oftentimes it's just something that you sort of bite your tongue, and you move on, and you don't really try to advocate to a group that's already singing another gospel.
Jason, I swear I saw a photo of you walking around with a camo colored lab coat. You don't wear that when you're walking down the hospital, wards and stuff. You don't do that. You're full of flat jacket and fatigues and stuff. You don't do that.
No, it's they frown upon that too. It's like everything's got to be sanitized and fit for mass consumption. Just the act of growing out a beard, would be seen as provocative, because you're
that man has facial hair. What is he up to?
Yeah,
that's so funny,
because, your testosterone is offensive.
Oh man, oh yeah, that's a funny topic. Oh, testosterone is always offensive. Alan, so Alan, do you have any problems in your field in terms of like people being anti-pro 2A? Like how do you find it with your work and stuff? Do you find any issues with it?
So my work is very wouldn't say, well, no, it's I mean, I work for a European company, so it's very, liberal, like kind of by nature. So a lot of times, people don't really talk about politics in my work.
Okay.
And it's kind of like, this person is kind of have certain views, this person has certain views, but like, we just kind of avoid a lot of like that kind of discussions.
Okay.
But then like, the people that kind of like-minded, they kind of stick together a little bit, have their own conversations, and then
they say, hey, let's look Alan works out. Let me talk to him. He looks a little dangerous. He looks a little.
So I mean, it's pretty, nothing too crazy. I mean, like we're all professionals, like so, and then certain people just like blatantly avoid you,
Yeah.
But for whatever, that's what it is. That's why we love America, the fact that you can make your own choices, right? So that's kind of what things that we kind of talked about. So yeah, you don't feel the click with certain people, then whatever, that's what it is. I'm not gonna look down or look up to certain people. You just have different views, call it a day.
Yeah.
So my work is not too bad, but obviously I don't wear certain things at work just so that try to be as neutral as possible.
Okay, all right. Now, one big thing is I want to ask. This is a first time I had on here. Most of the people in 2A are white guys that I've run into who are willing to talk about stuff. I've tried to get women on to talk about 2A topics. I try to get other people of color, minority groups, whatever, and like it's hard. A lot of groups are anti-gun, kind of going back to what I've seen before because they don't think it's for them and there's no reason for it. So I'm happy that I got some people on here that are not white guys. All right. So what are your experiences as being non-white guys and getting into firearms? Because I know in Philadelphia, sometimes you go, there's gun shops we'll walk into and they're racist. And they'll be like, what do you need a gun for? I was like, because I can get a gun, I want a gun. They're like, oh, you need it for a rap video or something? Like, shit like that. I was like, well, you guys can eat a dick. You're not getting my money now, and I'll leave, and I know I've ran into that also conversely with groups of Black people. Like, why do you have a gun? You shooting a rap video? Like, so, so it's funny, like, the both sides of it, right? So I know for myself, like, especially during 2020, all that talk went away. Nobody didn't ask why you needed a gun now. People were like, Adrian, I'm coming to your place. It's like, not uninvited unless you want to get perforated, you motherfucker. Like, and, they go, well, I know you got guns. Can I borrow? Like, I don't have anything for anybody. It's just for me and my family. So those conversations went away, but after things kind of, people didn't see it on the media and it wasn't happening in the streets, it went back to like, oh, you're crazy. I've been called a gun nut. I don't walk around with like, machine gun bandoliers and, like, why am I a gun nut? Like, what do you mean? So
not pew pewing in the sky.
That's how I start my morning. I shoot 2 shots into my ceiling and I get out of bed. My neighbor hates it. I don't know why, but that's how I start my morning. I just shoot it to. But like, I know I fought a lot trying to prove that I wasn't trying to be white. Because you're not white. Why do you need a gun? And I wasn't being aggressive, talking about the testosterone stuff. Like, I don't get it because I have, erectile dysfunction. I don't buy a gun because of that. Like, that doesn't help in the bedroom. I get it for protection issues and because I want to exercise my ability to learn skills to keep me safe wherever I go. And I like that. I like that. So what have you guys seen as your experience in terms of, being non-white guys, getting into firearms, and how have you navigated that space? What's happened with you, Alan? What have you seen and how did you get into it?
So there are still some gun store, like you said, you walked in, they kind of like looked at you different. I mean, but it's not a lot. Because like, I'm like you. I make my money, right? I mean, if you don't want my money, then I spend it somewhere else,
Yeah.
And but then again, that's a very, very like little what's it called? Like
Percentage.
portion.
Yeah.
Percentage. They're very low. And plus, like, I'm a non-typical Asian guy, so like, so like they looked at me like, all right, you're probably like Samoan anyway, so whatever, you do whatever you want, So, it's like I don't see a guy from Hong Kong weighs like 250, 5'8", so whatever. So and plus, so there's some gun store like that. Plus, I mean, the competition world, that there's a lot of like, we kind of promotes minorities, like women, regardless of your color of skin or whatever religion beliefs. If you're there to shoot, hey, more the merrier,
Yeah.
So however, there's still a lot of what I call the FUDs around here. It's like, hey, I want just for competition. I don't care about what they do, this and that. So it is what it is. But to me, a lot of Asian people came to me between 2019, 2020 during COVID. And because the lockdown, and also, like some of the things that you and I got disagree on IG sometimes, hey, the BLM versus the anti-Asians and all that crap, right? So sometimes, obviously, me by now, I provoke a lot. So sometimes, sometimes it's like some things out of line, but it's like now the people are actually seeing what, kind of like the whole LA riot thing, right? Cops all got their hands tied, they're not doing anything about it, right?
The rooftop Korean?
What's that?
The rooftop
roof,
exactly.
And also like my buddy, a good friend of mine down in Atlanta, he's Black, and same thing down there. They have, so let's say 4 section of Atlanta, or 5-6 section, and then they only have enough people for 5 section of Atlanta. So one of the section of Atlanta is always have no cops.
Yeah.
Or very limited. So like they just keep rotating. So, so I mean, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And my buddy, he's actually like,
that's crazy. Like Tuesdays there's no cops, so all the crimes.
Oh, it's nuts, man. It's nuts. Like they're calling it the Shootlanta right now. It's nuts every single day. Like always.
I remember the story of a girl who got shot in the subway because she put too much mayo in a guy's sandwich.
What
Now, a cop
Yeah,
wouldn't have
so-
prevented that.
Last week, somebody in Brooklyn got a McDonald's employee got murdered over cold French fries.
Yes, yeah, yeah. We talked about it. It's crazy.
Now, a cop would not have prevented that, but at the same time, a cop's presence may have, like being in an area or neighborhood. Like it's crazy, man. Yeah, that's bonkers. All right, so you had a lot of people reach out to you. How did you approach those conversations with new shooters, and did you find any, like, I'm trying to think of it. I'm not trying to. I know. All right, for example, I used to do real estate investing, and one time a friend of mine gave me some heaters, some radiators I needed for one of my projects. Radiators could be pretty expensive. She gave it to me just as a gift. So to reciprocate and show appreciation, he's like, you know what? I'll take you out to do some firearm stuff, and that'd be like, me showing appreciation and give you a skill that you can use. So this is an older woman. She's probably mid to late 50s. And I was like, yes, I can get you, show you some stuff about firearms. She's like, I already know. And she showed me she had a firearm in her little purse. So I was like, I love that. I was like, see, you're not playing around these fucking streets. And I know I've had similar conversations with Black women of similar demographics from the same area. And they're like, oh no, why would you want to show me about guns? I hate that. Da, da, da. So it was a different cultural thing that I've noticed different times where some people, I'm generalizing here. But I know I've ran into a lot of conversations that were anti-guns from different groups of my people where they're in the middle of situations and areas where they need guns. And have you seen that with like different groups, like with Asians or anything like that, where like they're opposed to it or they're anti it, but they could benefit from it? Like we were talking about like the violence that was happening against Asians and stuff like that in different areas around the country. And like I know growing up in Philadelphia, like the Asians who had like the corner store restaurants and stuff like that, like they didn't play around. Like they would come out and fight you. They would come out, they had a thick glass and stuff like that. And they, I'm sure, pretty sure were proponents of firearms, if not firearms, some sort of safety mechanism. But
Yeah,
I can
remember
imagine. No, go ahead,
I
go ahead,
remember
go
the
ahead.
takeout in Philly. It had the 3-inch thick glass, and then
Oh yeah. You could
you
have driven a tank through that fucking thing.
and then they hand you your order through a drawer.
Yeah, through a drawer. They don't have the drawer. They have like the snake method where like it goes like 10 inches this way, then another way, so you can't get your arm straight through because there's a big ass turn. So what are have you seen that at all in terms of like people from different backgrounds who are Asian who are anti-gun, and you have to like try to like bring them around the mountain, or have you not seen that, or what do you think?
I have. Among the Asians, there yeah, there is there is some I guess some truths with stereotypes, right? The stereotypical Asian is docile, doesn't like to stir up shit, stir
That's
up
how
the
America
pot.
likes them. That's how America likes all their minorities, docile, especially Asians.
Yeah, the quote unquote ideal minority. And when your fellow Asian friends, they find out that you have that you have firearms, they ask you, well, what do you need it for? You've got the police to protect you. And then you have that conversation. You try, it either you either just sort of you gauge that conversation and you just say, yeah, well, sometimes you need it, or you just go full red pill on them, and then they either bite or they don't. But for the most part, I think Asians in general, they don't like to cause stir up the waters, and or try to bring attention to themselves. Case in point, I remember that New York City had like a poster campaign, when there was an uptick in violence against Asians, and then you'd see colorful sort of pictures of very feminized faces, like Asian grandmother, a young, hipster Asian with multicolored hair and long hoop earrings, and the captions would read, I contribute to society, or I'm not a threat to you, or what else was there? Hate is the real virus, and just just sort of very inane, shitty, just sort of like just very very non-threatening type of language, and then it didn't I didn't think of it initially, but then it hit me, and I thought, like,
Did it
when I
annoy
saw
you?
that at once,
Did
I
it annoy
just
you?
thought, yeah, it's
I
like,
would have been
is
annoyed by
that
that
how you
shit.
see us? Is that how you see us? As people, as just like, this ideal, little, docile, China doll that that needs protection, that needs society's protection from people who have bad ideas in their head. Like, fuck that. I like I'm a fucking man. I can protect myself. Like it's I found it pandering,
Yeah.
and insulting to a point.
Yeah.
Almost like promotes the Asian people as a weakness in a way.
Oh yeah. They do. Like, I'm not
You know what I
Asian,
mean?
and I've seen it from the outside. Like, going to what you were saying, like they often show the Asian as like the quiet guy who,
Right.
is small. Like you're saying, like no one would imagine from the stereotypes that you're from Hong Kong because you're a well-built Asian man. Like, oh, he must be Mongolian. Like, he can't be
Right.
Chinese.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I got
like,
that. I got that all my life,
man of
man.
Asia shit. Like back with the colonial powers, the weak man of Asia and shit, talking about China. So that's the whole thing. Like, it's interesting that the stereotypes minorities go through. Like, for black men, apparently for us, we're all super aggressive and super, strong and stuff. That's why cops have to shoot us 50 times when we go for our license. Like, he's bulletproof, goddammit, he's African. Like, shoot that. Like, and like, it sounds crazy, Alan. Like, it's crazy, bro. But if you read the court, I can't forget the court statement by the actual police officer who shot Mike Brown. He made it sound like a fucking mythical creature from from Hades was coming after him. Like, he said, all I could see was his eyes, and like he was bearing down on me, and I shot it. He kept coming. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, and like the thing is, subconsciously, people have that in the back of their mind, so they're afraid. Like, oh no,
man.
I understand you had to shoot 60 times. That poor cop, his finger was so tired from all the trigger pulling. I was like, what the fuck? And like the same thing with like Asians. Like, if you're, I don't know, I can't speak to it, but just from what Jason was saying, like, I would have been upset seeing that shit. Like, what the fuck? Like, we're all like, hipsters who are, super like like, I know I get annoyed seeing stereotypes of black guys. Like,
so it's kind of tough, right? So as like, that's, well, you're black, right? So
Yeah.
but these are different blacks. So like, so like within the black culture is the different kind of groups,
yeah.
right? Same thing with Asian people. Like, like Jason and I both Chinese, right? But if you talk about like Japanese, Korean, you talk about the Filipinos, you're talking about like Vietnamese, Cambodians, and all those. So this is why the whole thing about the Stop Asian Hate thing, I kind of like laughed at it, because if you ever look at the whole history of Asia, we've been killing each other since the day of now. We've been killing each other, all right?
You're like,
so
no,
now,
make us stop the Asian hate.
so now you just group, all the Asian together just because we all look alike. I'm like, dude, come on now, you don't even do this. I mean, look at the long history of like, if you ever, explore as a Chinese, right? I mean, they kill gazillion of people, just during the dynasty time. That's part of the exploitation, right? So to me, like, just for them to like, do a Stop Asian Hate, lumps them all together, I'm like, dude, like, you don't even know the history.
Yeah.
Like, stop, like, quiet, right? And kind of go to like, Jason's point, like the Chinese people have certain persona, right? Like, they kind of portray certain ways. But then if you talk to the Cambodians, when they came from the refugee camps, like, they are totally different kind of culture, so like, you just can't even the Indian, right? The Asian as well. So like, you just can't say stop Asian hate. Like, plus we have so many people between the Indians and the Chinese from the homeland. It's already like 3 billion people. Like, how can you characterize all of,
like half the
everything
population of the world?
You know what I mean?
Like,
how can you?
At least it didn't say stop Oriental hate,
Right,
Oriental
yeah,
hate,
exactly, right, yeah. So it's like, I don't know. So
they could
I
have someone like
prefer,
Sergeant T or
I
something like
personally
that on the
prefer the
poster,
more progressive term, Chinaman.
Oh
Chinaman,
man,
yeah.
oh goodness, man. Oh man. Like they could have had someone serving tea. Like that stuff infuriates me when they make people like into I think the way you
Caricature.
protect people is giving them access and letting them train and then holding people accountable. Cause like even with the judicial system, when people get caught, 9 times out of 10, they're back out quickly, they're back on the street, the recidivism is crazy. Even the jail sentences, like they had the guy who was, they say the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was based off of. He admitted to killing at least 20 some odd people, and they're having coming up for parole. And his current time served is less than 2 years for each person he killed. So it's like how's each year or each person he killed worth less than 2 years, and you think about letting them back out? Like, what are you doing? like
Wow.
It's so the judicial system has so many issues where people who commit crimes habitually are back out again, and the law enforcement system has issues where they're not you can't have people, you can't legislate away people, doing evil and crime. You need to give people the tools, and you also need to fix the societal issues where people think it's okay to do violence like that against another person. Like there's a lot of unspoken underlying issues that I attribute back to the lack of humanity and the lack of empathy between groups. And that's just because of how media portrays stuff and how people don't interact. Like even us having this conversation, some might think is like breaking barriers. You got 2 Asian men speaking to a black guy. Like it's not anything as what's that term? It's not anything as fancy as that. Everybody's a human. So just interact with them and figure out the commonalities instead of like, where you separate and change and stuff. Like Al and I were speaking about like when they were having the protests in Hong Kong, I was trying to figure out how to support and empathize and help them. That's, in a different part of the world from me. I don't live in Hong Kong or have relations in Hong Kong, but I was like, this is fucked up. They're going through some hard times. And after the fucking COVID stuff, that disappeared. Like what there's been no more media attention or documentation for what was happening in Hong Kong. And I know they were arresting people just like the Communist Party does often, and like people were disappearing, and there's no information about that now. You can't find that. And the political powers like Nancy Pelosi and stuff, they're not pushing for any of that. So you want to stop some Asian hate, like support people when they're trying to keep their sovereignty, because Hong Kong's completely different from mainland China. Same thing with Taiwan and stuff. Like they're different groups. So to try to like allow them to be all lumped in and controlled, it's hard. But once again, you got the US comes from that history of like, oh, we're the police of the world. So it's interesting to balance out. Like, we're sending $50 billion to Ukraine. Why not send a couple billion to Hong Kong and Taiwan? They might need some, like where does it start and where does it begin? Like it's really weird,
Yeah, that's just another whole new can of worms.
Right.
We're trying to negotiate. We're trying to negotiate. The freedom of a basketball player. Jailed over marijuana, but we've got how many thousands of Americans jailed over a bullshit marijuana charge.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Whole generation of it, man. Like same thing with like crack and stuff, like the crack epidemic. Like you had the opiate epidemic being treated as a social issue, whereas with crack, it was treated as a criminal system, and they both have similar, similar consequences in terms of communities and people. So why are they being treated completely different? And then if you have a law that you change in society and the stuff changes, then why not have it be retroactive and help out some people,
It depends.
Right.
It depends on the details of your dealer, right? If your dealer just got MD after his name, then you go to.
I can see that argument because they don't want to bring up the culpability of pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah,
because they said the prescribed medication epidemic is the greatest by far.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And they said even in like the studies themselves, they knew a lot of the stuff was happening for me, but they just underplayed it or outright didn't announce it. Oh, there's this really good book that was talking about that. I can't remember the name of the book. Man, I'll find it later. But basically, it was it was someone who's speaking about how when they're introducing these painkillers, when they first started switching to this the format, that they were talking about how there's a lot of negative side effects to it. And some people announced it and some people downplayed it because they're like, all right, well, we'll worry about that later so we can get it out in the market. Which is, you know, if you're a doctor, you know, a mechanic, he has some faulty brakes to have are known to fail or whatever the case may be. Like you have to state that up front so that you're being forthcoming with everything. You can't say, oh, well, I'll worry about it later if it becomes an issue, because that's just not how you do things ethically, you know?
Yeah, and these.
Well, but the problem
these
is everybody have a price. That's the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
No, you say everybody
that's
has
the
a price.
problem.
And these companies have had paid billions, you know, in fines, but you know what?
That means
what
nothing to
billion
them.
dollars
A
to
couple
these
billion here and
companies?
there,
Nothing.
that means nothing. That means nothing.
Yeah.
So all right, so Alan, what was your path like into the 2A? How did you get into 2A? You told us about the time when you tried to sneak into the gun shop and he told you no license, no gun handling. He told you get out of here. Get out
Yeah.
of here, you punk. Get out
So
of here,
then
Chinese punk. That's what did he say that?
No, I didn't say that to me. No, there was a white guy, older white guy too. It's funny you say that. But so I grew up in a very blue collar town. You know, like my family was like one of the earliest, you know, Asian people in the town, right? 30,000 people, 35, whatever. So funny thing is,
That's a small town, man. 30,000 people.
About 35,000 people at that time. Yep.
I see you bump the number up.
Well, about 30, 35. So right now, probably 50. To be honest with you.
Oh yeah, but it's still a small town, man. That's cool though.
Because I grew up about only 10 miles outside of Boston.
Okay.
So now, like with everything so expensive in Boston, everybody came out, you know. So oh yeah, it's crazy. The real estate market is just another thing. But anyway, so I actually saw a Groupon deal for taking the home safety course.
Really?
For $85.
So you got into 2A because of Groupon.
Well, that's how I got into guns.
I have $30. Why not? You know.
That's how I get into guns. So then, you know, going through the whole thing, you know, then learn about all the you know, like almost like speakeasy. Oh, you in this town? Oh, okay, you get this from recommendation letters, LTC, all the jazz. Then I had my license for a while. Never bought a gun until there was scare when banning the AR. I think when his first term, at the end of first term or beginning of second term. That's when I'm like, all right, so let me go buy an overpriced AR-15. What's that?
What president was that?
Obama.
Obama. Okay, yeah.
So I think first term or
when he was
second term.
coming into office. That was like 2008, 9, something. 2000.
Yeah. So I forgot which ones. That was a the AR scare. So
yeah.
So then that's when I went to bought a you know, neuter AR-15 overpriced, and then I had that gun, never shot it because I didn't belong to a gun range and, you know, couldn't justify the money you know, to like join and all the stuff. Because in Massachusetts, we joined a gun range. The first year you're looking at between $250 to like $400.
Wow.
For the first year, but then after that, it's usually between $150 to $200 per year.
Okay, that's not bad.
Because they want to make sure that you're serious about it. And then pretty much didn't get into that until, and I was almost a lifetime Democrat, to be honest with you, until the second term of Obama, when he gives the benefit to illegal aliens, same as illegal aliens. That's when I was like, all right.
Which benefits are you talking about?
Just like, you know, healthcare benefits, or like, just give them the citizenship, like, because like my family, you know, gone through 15 years just able to get their citizenship and doing it the right way. So like all the money.
It's always been really funny to me because I know people spend like tens of thousands of dollars with like an immigration lawyer, waiting years and years, and then they try to get their family to come too. And then like other people are like, all right, well, I just came over the border. Like
so it's like that's what really kind of like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like that's when I took my first red pill, I guess. Yeah. And then the older
and during that time too, I'm sorry to cut you off, but during that time too, Obama was deporting a lot of people back to the Caribbean and stuff, a lot of Black people. So a lot of people were angry at him because he's like making policy for one group, but then making policy for another group. And you always know, like, anytime there's an issue, like with Ukraine, they allow them to immigrate without impunity. Like I know from the Ukraine issue, there was already people immigrating into Philadelphia months ago. they set up like programs for them and stuff. You would never see that for another group. Like they do that for
Right.
Europeans all the time. But I was like, you know, someone else having to do like, there's always something happening in Africa. I've never seen them set up immigration groups for African groups, you know.
Because during Obama, it's an interesting time because like you look at him, you know, like, oh, you know, supposed to be, you know, for a certain group of, you know, minority, but he really wasn't.
He wasn't.
So
he wasn't at all.
So 2014 that's when I'm like, all right, that's when the red pill thing started. And then 2016 with, you know, with the whole, you know, Trump and Hillary thing, that's when I started, you know, seeing the light differently. And that's when I start doing about the gun stuff. It's around 2016, 2017 is when I start becoming an instructor, because what I wanted to do is get discounts on guns.
Good,
being a typical Chinese guy.
Start your own militia, man.
And then, but there's a more you get involved, the more you learn, more you understanding, and then you know how important firearm is in the history of the U.S. and actually history throughout the world, and then especially through the pandemic, people have no outlets. So I ended up waiving the fees for the class when if they are domestic survivors, like if they give me a story, I don't need to verify nothing. Doesn't matter how long it took place. I will not charge them for the home safety
You're
course.
all heart, bro. You're all heart.
You know, like you know, there's a lot of things like that, because a lot of times, you know, like Jason said, like in New York City, you're talking about $500-600, you know, just to get your license, just so that your boyfriend don't kill you or your girlfriend don't kill you, right? I mean, you can't only, you know, so you go both ways. And
I know, bro.
you know what I'm saying? Domestic go both ways, you know.
Now,
So
did you see that hear about the woman in California who ran through the red light and killed that family?
When
Did
was
you see
that?
the video of it? It's in California. I think it's Los Angeles, but there was a woman who drove through a red light and killed her family, and it was an emotional breakdown issue. Her boyfriend broke up with her, and she decided to try to kill herself and wind up killing a family instead.
Yeah, it's crazy. So so during the times of, you know, waive the fees and stuff like that, and that's when I kind of started my whole, you know, plus living in Massachusetts with all the crazy gun laws here and stuff like that. So that's when I started really getting to 2A, like support, like, and then my good friends in Atlanta, you know, so down there, so and he speaks at a lot of conferences and such, so he's very involved. So, you know, same thing, he moved to Georgia, and then
What is his name?
Patrick Collins. He has a website, actually. He called thegunfood.com. So
I like that.
yeah, so during the pandemic, he started, like, actually, you know, he always hustles. He from up here.
Later, so I can look him up.
Patrick Collins.
Yes.
Yeah, send you the info. Yeah, so you guys should just connect. And he speaks at a lot of like conferences with, you know, stuff like that. So same thing. He get down to Georgia. He from Massachusetts. Get down to Georgia, and then the first week he got there, I think two of his coworkers, and he's an engineer as well. He said two of his coworkers got the home got broken into.
Wow.
And then he's like outside Atlanta, so he's like, I don't know, like 45 minutes away. And he's like, do you know what's the average police response time is? I don't know, 35 to 45 minutes.
Wow.
So now we all know it takes seconds.
Yeah.
For something bad to happen to you.
Yeah,
so,
that's crazy.
So if you're 35 to 45 minutes, something is like you get slashed and you're bleeding to death.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you know,
I guess you can use that time to start writing your will or something like that, you know.
Oh yeah, done. So that's crazy, man.
Time before the cops show up. All right. That's crazy.
So, you know, with a lot of injustice and stuff. So, and then now, especially, you know, with Hong Kong and all that stuff, you just so apparent that, you know, when you have a disarmed citizens and what can, you know, the government can do to you. So.
Yeah. We had Jason. Jason talked about his path into it. You got into it after the 2020 stuff. What have you done since then, Jason, in terms of like training and stuff? I know that we both survived the Life Fighter course together, with that 3-day survival course in the wilderness. What have you been trying to, you know, what has been your focus following 2020? Have you lost your fire, Jason, in terms of like, you know, I don't need it anymore? Have you let it collect dust?
No, it's been a journey, you know, like I guess for lack of a better term, I would fall into the truther or truther adjacent
These terms are so funny to me.
you know uh, I guess I have proclivities toward that direction, and it's sort of like when you talk to other folks in the community, they all share a similar path. So you everybody either their first foray into the sort of trutherdom is either going to be 4chan, which is a fucking sewer, by the way, but or
I gotta put my browser history because I'm from 4chan.
I never heard about 4chan until recently. I never knew what the frick that was.
Hey, actually, you're
I have
doing
no
better,
idea.
Alan. Don't go. Alan, it's a bad place. Don't go to 4chan, bro.
Yeah, I thought Reddit's bad enough.
trash.
So I heard
Like,
like
No, it's worse
4chan
than
is
Reddit.
even
Way
worse than
worse than
Reddit.
Reddit. Way worse than
Oh
Reddit.
god.
Yeah, 4chan's a dumpster fire that you can't turn away from.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I won't stop that.
Yeah, but or Alex Jones, so
Did
then
you hear about Alex
like
Jones going to court recently for Sandy Hook?
yeah,
And
he
he
got
got
paid
found
what,
culpable.
$41 million.
Yeah, they ruled against him too. Yeah.
Yeah, that it's a I don't know what I feel about that. Like
It seems problematic
they
for free
in a way
speech,
they
right?
silenced him,
It seems
Yeah,
problematic for
but
free speech, right?
they silenced him. That was the end result. And if
Yeah.
if they can do that to him, whether deserved or not, they can do it to you.
So that's the whole problem with silencing people. Even if you don't like what someone's saying, it's better for them to be saying it so you know what the fuck they're thinking, and you can have a exchange of ideas sometimes. Because I know a lot of times running into people who are anti-gun or whatever the case may be, you talk to them, it's better to have that conversation. Like this one guy was there's a documentary on Netflix I was watching. It talks about like the legacy of America and like enslavement and how often, around like critical race theory, they just try to ignore it, where it's actually something you should be talking about. Like ignoring that whole thing where you say like, I don't see race is actually a disservice, because you should be able to see race and still treat them like a person. Like, oh, I don't see race. Like, no, obviously I can see you're Asian, man. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, he's not Asian. Like, what the fuck? Yes, I am. I'm proud of being Asian. Like, you saying that, and
I will.
anyway,
to piggyback off your point, like it's sort of like, do you pull the Band-Aid off slowly, or do you pull the Band-Aid off quickly?
I think quickly.
Either way, it's going to suck, but you still gotta air and sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Yeah. I like that.
But to piggyback off your point, about the whole racism, I felt like my time in the Army, I encountered pretty racist people, but I really enjoyed that period because it was yes, people were racist, but everybody was racist. You know what I mean?
But now my question to you, Jason, were they just racist towards? They weren't racist towards you, right? They were just racist to everybody.
What it is in the Army? It's just one big dick swinging contest.
Oh yes.
It's, if you can get a rise out of somebody, it doesn't matter. You got a fat wife, you got a special needs kid,
whatever soft point you can attack, right?
Yeah, you got you got insecurities about your background, your race, etc. If you can get a rise out of the other guy, you won. And that was,
I didn't even go to the military for that. We did that in Philadelphia just growing up as kids. And I always laugh because a lot of people don't have that history. Like, you can talk shit. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'll talk shit with you.
Yeah, and it in a way, it did one thing that was important. It trivialized, it trivialized race, so yes, yeah, like, look, every group has fucked over somebody or has been fucked over, or sometimes both.
Yeah.
The history of the world is, hey, I like your shit, it's mine now. And
Essentially,
that's just the reality of humanity, right?
that's
And
essentially what happens.
yeah, like it's like you throw in the way a group looks, or physical traits that you can't control, and you throw that into the mix, and yeah, you've got tribal wars. But one thing that sort of the needling in the army, one thing I took away from that is you get to see what's trivial and what's important, right? So all the bullshit you can laugh about, and when you can have that
And there's a
level
lot
of,
of stuff you can laugh about too.
yeah, and when you can have that level of intimacy with somebody, yeah, you talk shit about that person, you'll go through hell, you'll walk through broken glass to bring him back.
Yeah.
Right. So, well, because you actually love that person. That's why.
Yep.
Because you guys actually bonded.
Yeah.
Like, so I've been doing martial arts since like 25 years now, right? So like one of my buddies.
You started when you were 2, 3, something like that?
No. I started when I was like whatever. But it's like one of my buddies actually said, like, you
I was
actually.
making that joke, Alan, because you look young.
I'm an old man, old fat man. So one of my one of the guys I met during college, like he actually was like a state wrestler from New York and stuff like that, and he'd been doing karate for God knows maybe like 10 years at a time. And it's like your training partners or the people that you beat the shit out of every single day, like you actually like love that person, right? It's like when you at certain level of competitions, is you gonna, let's say you do judo, Muay Thai, MMA, right? The top 10 guys is gonna be the same top 10 guys for a while. So essentially, you are trying to beat the shit out of each other, and then you will come to the point that, let's not talk about all the commercial fights like UFC. Let's say a real just a competition without the money, like to take money aside. You are trying your hardest to beat the shit out of somebody for years or months during training camp, right? And the fact that like, and that you will see the same person maybe 6 months later, 3 months later, and the different competition, right? You might not like that person, you might respect that person, right? So it's like it's just how we melt, and that's how like we bond as a man, and that's where I said to you when you say like I don't see color, like I truly, right? I see Jason's the man. Like I don't care. You have beer, no beer, whatever. Like you on the mat with me, we are the same people.
Yeah.
Because the sports brought us together. The art brought us together, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, and plus the gym that I train at, we have a lot of international people because we're near the colleges around here. So you have a lot of international student comes here to do their PhD, postgrad school, like whatever. So I deal with different cultures all the time. And obviously Europeans, they have different mindset, Asian people, Chinese people, different mindset or whatever. But on the mat, no, I don't care who you are. You same weight class or different weight class, I don't care. You're on the same mat. We're going at it.
Yeah.
We train, we learn, we talk about it. You know what I mean? So that's
beautiful
why, like,
because you've been doing it for so long, and that's like informs how you act and who you are today. Because a lot of people don't have that interaction. A lot of people stay in their little groups and they stay in their little, and they're not going out. They're not going through hard stuff with strangers or hard stuff with people from different backgrounds. Where after you go through that blood and sweat and effort, you're like, hey man, you're just another person like me, and I respect, especially with training partners, you respect them so much because they allow you to get better, and they allow you to use their body to try to get better.
Right,
so
exactly.
it's like a sacred bond, like I got to make sure I take care. Like anytime someone tries to go in and do like hard sparring, I was like, oh, you obviously are new to this, because if you weren't new to this, you would know that you have to tread with respect and with agreements, and because you have to take care of that person, because they're allowing you an opportunity to get better and assess yourself.
Exactly. Like you hear the people that always hurt their training partners all the time. It's like yeah, you're at the point that nobody wants to train with you. So now you're on your own.
Yeah,
you're
and
done.
now good luck at getting better now, like you fucking
Exactly, because nobody wants to deal with you. You know, like people don't understand that. And I train in Thailand, for Muay Thai and stuff like that. And that's one big thing, one big complaint
Oh,
from
we
the
gotta
fighters.
talk about that later, man. I didn't know you were trained in Thailand.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm not train, but like I train with my grandmaster over there and stuff like that. But like,
I did
stuff
a year
like
in
that.
China, training, doing Chinese kickboxing, Sanda.
Muay Thai, yeah.
Yeah.
No, not Sanda, Muay Thai, like real Muay. Actually, Muay Boran, which is like the ancient, it's like Krav Maga of Muay Thai. Like that's what they used back in the 1300s.
Yeah.
To
but like that year I
themselves
did
and
in
stuff.
China, like I learned so much, and like I still contact and talk to those guys from just that 1 year, doing stuff in China. Like it was such a great time.
And did you feel like you were discriminated against?
No.
Exactly. And you probably in some East Bum F somewhere in China that saw you.
Yeah, middle of nowhere, doing stuff. Yeah, it's cool, man.
It's like, hey, he's like, Adrian, go sweep the floor. That's it. Really?
Not Adrian, the black guy, sweep the floor. Just Adrian, go sweep the floor.
Yeah, it's like everybody, whoever, the first year guy, go, everybody sweep the floor. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. That's the way it is.
You were going to say something?
Yeah, I can attest to that. I do BJJ. Nothing formal. I just I'll just roll on the mat with my instructor. And one thing that I took away from it is when you want to truly know a man's soul, you fight him.
Yeah. You look them in the eyes, and they look to you right back to your eyes.
That sounds kind of intimate, man. Look them in the eye.
And now, well, but now you know what you just talk about. Jason talk about how big swinging. Yeah, I mean big swings.
Dick swinging, look them in the eye. That's what I'm gonna name this podcast.
Sometimes you get in the ring or you bow on the mat. You just look at the guys in the eyes. Either you take it easy in that round, or you better bring an A game.
Oh yeah. That's true. That's definitely true.
When you roll on the mat, you definitely you have to give your A game, because there's no in the mat. There's no oppression. There's no intersectionality. There's none of that bullshit.
Intersectionality. Oh well, you have to. Yeah. That might be fun to do as a skit. That might be fun to do as a skit. Try to do intersectionality on the mat.
Yeah. Let me choke you slowly. Let me choke you out.
I don't care if I didn't have the arm bar on you. I felt that I had the arm bar. Like, what? What do you mean?
Oh, trust me. That's a lot of guys that I used to train with. They got multiple position on you. Like they just don't apply. They just like certain people you roll with when
if you know what you're doing, you don't have to do it. Like all that stuff happens when someone's untrained or is ego. That's the only two ways it happens.
I got hurt more by the white belts, by teaching them, than any black belts I train with.
Yeah.
Because when like you've been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years, like the white belts, oh crap, I'm not supposed to do this. And then you're like, your shoulders are really like, falling out of socket.
All right, let's see. Jason, you were saying something. Did we cut you off?
Yeah, so I guess the truther journey or the truther adjacent journey. So yeah, you get your first taste either through 4chan or Alex Jones. Then you start to question everything. The quote unquote red pill. Then you start listening to folks like Jordan Peterson, who and then you realize he's just a benzodiazepine addicted charlatan.
How did you realize that? I didn't hear about this.
I guess when he starts breaking down and babbling, you catch videos of him breaking down and babbling, and then you start thinking, wait a minute, I looked up to this guy.
Yeah,
and
that's the whole thing about idolizing people. You just look at what they're saying, and you can idolize characteristics, but not people. And a lot of times we as humans fall into that.
I can admit I'm 100% guilty, because when I went when I I got red pilled. It was right around 2016, and Trump Clinton. And yeah, I can admit I jumped on the MAGA train, and
Hey, I
then
think I see Red Hat in the background. I'm joking.
what's
He might
that?
get adjusted out in 2024, man. He might be coming back around the mountain,
Oh, I don't know. He's going to be Biden's age.
I know. Well, that's why they said they did the raid in Mar-a-Lago to try to have something on him to try to whitewash him into not running again.
I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if he swatted himself.
Conspiracy, my friend. There's always something.
Yep.
Yeah, he might have
But,
done that. It's a good publicity stunt, right?
Yeah, but then you realize, you look at then the sort of the MAGA magic wore off, and then you realize, hey man, this guy is just a vaccine salesman. He's just
Yeah.
chilling for these experimental treatments, and he didn't do anything for 2A or for
No, sure.
That's a true statement. Yep.
Hey, Alan, if you have to get ready to go or anything, let me know too. And I'm not trying to hold you away,
No, I got a couple more minutes before I go back to become Savala again.
Okay.
Taking on a break
So
from being a
glad you were
dad.
staying, Justin. Jason.
And then so you get then the red pill is followed by the black pill, because you realize, oh man, these guys all lied to us. They're all crooks. They're all shills. They're all
So that's where I was at. I was at that from like pre-adolescence, man, because I grew up like in a black nationalist background. My parents were in the Nation of Islam, and like we all knew growing up, like, you can't trust the fucking government, and because like as you said, like they all have their own agendas, and they're not worried about the common person,
Yeah.
They're all about dividing people and finding ways to build up their money and stuff like that. And we see that more and more. Like if you got $50 billion to send out to other countries while people are homeless in the US, they can't get homes. You have vets that are committing suicide at astronomical rates, all sorts of stuff where the home front's not well. How do you justify sending 50 billion away? Like it's crazy. And
Yeah. And there's people who peddle the fear porn, that
oh, that's all it is, man. Fair porn.
you watch say Fox News. Oh, AOC did this, or Ilhan Omar that, or the always the recurring theme is, can you believe this is America? Question mark, question mark.
I have to shut off my news, man. I haven't watched news for over 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, because it's bad for your heart, it's bad for your brain, it's bad for your spirit.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad, man.
That's the key word. Now, I want to ask real quick, because I know Alan has to get off soon. Alan, what do you think is like your initial passion or drive to get into? I call it personal protection, but get into 2A and like self-advocacy, and then after advocating for yourself, why and how did you spread that to others? Like, what was your motivation? What drew you into it? How did you get into it?
So before the 2A thing, like I teach martial art for a long time. So like personal protection was always part of my thing in a way, right? So situational awareness, don't be that dumbass on your phone reading a magazine while you're walking, making sure you know your surrounding without
I saw
being
someone doing that, walking with their back towards traffic on a road without a sidewalk, bro. I was like, huh?
Oh man, like
what? I was like,
what this is the thing, right? Like so people right now is so conditioned into like, all right, let the government do this. Oh, people can do this. Like, oh, like the fact that a lot of people are so conditioned to kind of allow their own safety in other people's hands, over their own hands. That's
and the person that has the most to lose is you.
Exactly, because like, all right, so let's say that person you're talking about, right, with the back against right on the traffic. All right, some guy, the guy driving got a text, oops, kill the guy, right? Manslaughter, come out 10 years per se. So now you being a dumbass, not knowing your situation, you lost your life, and that guy lost 10 years of his time.
Yeah.
But you lost your life, right? Like people don't value themselves as what they deserve, and that's a problem. And so that's why I kind of like
I like that point you made about they have to value themselves. You're right.
You have to value yourself.
People are too afraid of offending somebody. You see somebody who you don't, people don't trust their instincts. You see somebody who looks looks a little sketchy, right? Gives you an uncomfortable feeling in your gut. What do you say? Oh, don't make eye contact with him. I don't want him to offend him, because I don't want to be perceived as a bigot or whatever. And so it's like, millions of years of evolution have provided you that
That instinct to feel uncomfortable.
that gift of fear that you have.
Oh, you know that book, The Gift of Fear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
It-
great
it's
book. You know that too,
possible.
Alan?
Yeah, I read that one too. Yeah.
Oh, it's a great book, man.
But
I
given that
I
gift,
didn't like it almost
Eric.
towards the end though. That book bothers me until the end. The
Yeah.
Book of Fear. I read I did the audio book when I'm about to pass about halfway when they kind of having the same talking point that I didn't really I didn't agree with. I'm like, that's when I
Yeah.
shut off. But up to that point, I was good.
No, the first half is where the meat and potatoes is at for it. So
Yeah.
you said you were pro 2A or pro personal protection,
Yep.
and you found it was important to value yourself, and you try to share that with other people. Or is that what you do?
So you gotta always value yourself, and then you can respect others, right? If you have no self-love, how can you love someone else, right? That's
Yeah.
the same thing. So it's all comes from within. It's like what Michael Jackson said, right?
That's my tagline for my business: success from within.
Yeah, exactly. So like Michael Jackson said, if you want to change the world, you look in the mirror. I mean, like this is the first.
That's good. You brought it back. You brought it back.
You know what I mean? So this is the first thing that you got to do. So like you can tell, it's easy to spend other people's money, right? So it's easy to tell people what they need to do, but it's hard for you to do it for yourself. And
Yeah.
that's come from fundamental that how you change yourself. And this is why, like I'm probably the biggest critic of anything I do. Like if I do certain things, I ask people for opinions, whatever, because I continuously try to self-improve. And that's why when I teach like courses and stuff, I have such a high, I'm a pain in the ass. Like the whole OCD thing kicks in because to me, because it's like if I teach somebody, let's say, firearms and stuff, you are essentially trusting your safety in my hands, right? So like I am very adamant and I have to make sure that I need to be fair to you as a student, but for your trust in me to do whatever. Right.
Yeah, you have to honor that.
Yeah, you have to honor
it. It's a big responsibility.
And in the order to honor that responsibility, you need to be tough on yourself because you have to have very high standard for yourself. And same thing, everything I do, like I try to be the best person I can for that particular job because I respect other people and myself.
Yeah.
I want people to look at me, oh, Alan is a pain in the ass, but he knows what the hell he's talking about. It's like me being official. A lot of people hate me.
Yeah.
But a lot of people also respect me because they know where I'm coming from, or they know like it's a consistency. This is what he does. You know what I mean? So, it is what it is.
That's a cool thing because I remember once I had a conversation with my martial arts instructor in China, and he said like one of the things he said in one of our conversations that martial artists are like the best people of the world because they care more about other people. They as through the challenges of martial arts, they gain greater appreciation for themselves and for others, and
but keywords are for themselves.
Yeah.
Because in order for you to care for others, you need to work on yourself first.
Yeah.
So that's where the fundamentals that comes in. That's why I like Bruce Lee's like philosophy and all the stuff. You train your mind, train yourself first before you train others. And this is that's where I'm coming from. And that's why I set a high standard for myself. If I suck at something, I work on it. If I suck at something I couldn't teach you, I tell you to go somewhere else. That's just the way seriously. If you're looking at like doing like the build drills under 1.5 seconds, I couldn't do it. I'm like, hey, go to this guy that I know who can. Like learn from the other person. And as a matter of fact, maybe I need to take the lesson with you from the other person.
And that's the thing too, being an instructor, that you always have more to learn and go to other people. Like it's
always learning.
As instructors, we get stuck in that space where we're always the one teaching, but you have to remember, I need to go constantly be a student as well.
So funny is real quick. So yesterday I was on this Netflix. It's talking about these chefs, about their life, about journey. So this guy, his name is Rondo from South Carolina, from a small town, Hemingway. So he actually have a great things that he said. His father pretty much cooked forever barbecue, like real deal barbecue, 12, 18-hour days, kind of that. He said, it's great that you close your fist. You can control and keep what you have. But in order to grow, you have to open your hands for you to learn other things, to how you perfect what you had. And I took that, I'm like, wow, that was from a guy who cooked barbecue since 12 years old, and then like
I was looking at his fist like open, close.
Open your fist, so let the knowledge comes in. You can't do this, you know. So stuff like that, you know. It's like, you know, so like, you know, even that from a cooking show, and that's kind of like what I try to do, like, you know, apply different perspective. How can I learn from different things into life?
Well, that's a funny thing too, because all learning is learning, you know. It can all relate to something else. Like even applying yourself, like Jason does in his career in film and stuff. Like when you have the habit and the standard of excellence, you can do that in everything, you know.
Right.
And it's important to do it that way.
And you know, I mean, it's not the standard necessarily like people set for you, but you set for yourself. You know what I mean? And that's really key. And I've been blessed that I've been able to, a lot of instructors that I have, a lot of them are like that. You know, we all have our own little quirk, you know, but a lot of them are very, very, you know, hard on themselves. And, that's kind of like how I learned. And, you know, that's why the fundamentals so important. You know,
I think it's
kind of right mindset.
As instructors, you know, the greatest gift, you know, that you can impart on the student is, you know, how to be, you know, independent and how to be a specialist in that craft, you know. Some instructors will create a cult of personality around them and create this sort of environment where
they're dependent on them.
They're dependent. They create a codependent sort of environment, and it's so important to get people to be self-reliant. You know,
that's when my students take their firearms course with me. If they do a good job, by the time they finish that first course, they can self-assess and do all. They don't need any more instructions for the basics there. You know, same thing with martial arts. Once you learn the basics, you can do the rest yourself. If you have a good instructor.
A good instructor hopes that, you know, the student will eventually surpass him. You know, like when I work with residents, you know, it's such a great feeling when the resident can tie that suture or stop that bleed, you know, by himself, you know, because of, you know, the knowledge you've imparted, right? And you know, that's sort of like, you know, a metaphor for life in general, right? And you've got to, you know, rely on yourself, and just going back to you know, 360 about, you know, the whole, you know, journey. You know, you go from red pill to black pill, and then you realize, you know, there are no, you know, there is no plan but God's, and you know, you don't follow false messiahs, and you know,
that's what too many of us are doing.
You have to rely on yourself, you know, and you don't, just because, you know, the political climate or the culture doesn't go your way, you don't, you know, hold your breath and wait for the world to change. That's a recipe for disaster.
You look in the mirror.
Yeah,
do what you can.
The change comes from within, and there's nobody who's going to come save you. You're going to have to save yourself. So, you know, I stopped watching Alex Jones because all he would sell was fear porn and pills to make your dick hard. You know?
Yeah, never any solutions. So let's finish on this note. Can you guys go over the books that you referenced? I know I got one book from you, Jason. What was that book you had, and why did you select it? Why did you think it was a value?
One book that was very impactful in my life, in my adult life, was The Way of Men by Jack Donovan. And you know, I guess the the 10-second summary is, don't worry about being a good man. Focus more on being good at being a man.
It's
And what is
interesting.
being a man? It's being an expert in your craft. It's being accountable to other men. It's being dependable and reliable, and don't go for that the nice guy type of persona. Go for just being an expert, being good at being a man, right? Like recognizes like, right? So whether you're a good dude or a bad dude, who what a man is, right? And, even if you're a good dude looking at a bunch of bad dudes, right? What a man is, right? And you can say among that group, that guy's a bad dude, but he's a man.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because in different experiences I've had, even with quote unquote, criminals and stuff like that, certain ones at a certain level you have a code, and I notice that now seeing stuff there's no code anywhere, and you can tie that to different things. But one of the things it might be is that there are no examples of men in different communities doing different stuff, because even amongst criminality and other stuff, like you would have codes. I know, like even growing up fighting, like all right, you can admit defeat. You can admit someone's better than you, but now that's not even the case. You don't even get to the fight. Someone will try to shoot you or catch you by yourself. I remember when I was teaching high school years ago, I was talking to the children about like, why do you guys jump people? Like when I was growing up, you would never jump anybody. Like, why are you guys jumping people? And I remember they told me, which I was like kind of dumbfounded by. They said, we jump people so that we don't get jumped. So we jump them first. I was like, huh? I was like, what the fuck? I was like, but then they're going to try to catch you later with a larger group. And like, I remember one time, I was at a high school. There was 50 students showed up from, not from the school, from somewhere else, armed with one of them. Some of them had firearms and stuff because of a girl. I was like, a girl that was talking to another guy. I was like, oh, this could be handled by like two people saying, like, oh, I like you, I don't like you. The girl was flirting with some guy that she should not have been talking to when she already had a boyfriend. So it was the girl's fault. But they brought 50 people to take care of this one guy. I was like, nah, we can't do this. I was like, I'm sorry, we're not doing this. We're not. But it was over. Yeah, it was almost 50 people showed up for foolishness. It's emotional stuff. I was like, this is between a girl that was talking to a guy when she's acting up or whatever. Why are y'all here? Oh, well, we're here because we heard this fight and we're going to do this. I was just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
So there's need to be codes, but
we need more fathers in the community. I've got a 4-year-old at home, and I've already got him repeating the mantra: a man controls his emotions, a man controls his surroundings.
Good. I saw on a flight back, I was flying in recently, and there's this little boy with his grandmother, which is already an issue. There's no one else around, and the little boy was being a turd for the technical definition of being a piece of shit. And it's not his fault. It's because of the environment. He wasn't being given standards. He wasn't being held to a code of behavior. He wasn't being taught to self-control and all that stuff. And I was just like, all he needs is like a strong figure around him to do that. And sometimes only a man can do that. It's just that simple. You can use whatever fancy words you want, but sometimes only men can do that. I know, like with my 3 boys, they respond completely different when I say something compared to other people. And that's just because some people don't know how to assert their presence. It's not like I'm shouting, it's my presence. And you learn those different things through different environments. Alan, can you show your books real quick, what you had and why? I know we had the child.
I have that, but I think the kind of going back to like training yourself and your mind, you see the Tower of Pool by Benjamin Hobbes. So that pretty much like I'm not a religious person, but I'm a faithful person. So I think it's one of those things that once
how do you define the two as different? Because I'm of the same way, I believe. I want to hear your definition.
So when you have faith is what I identify as like you believe in like a higher power, whatever that case may be. I don't care if it's Jesus Christ, Judaism, or Muslim or Buddhism, Hindu. You believe something greater than you, what you are, and you are accountable for anything you do. So when I was younger days, and then I was like, because in gangster in Hong Kong, right, they all pray to the same God as a cop do. So the cop would pray to, you know, Mr. Guan here, right? And then the gangster would do the same thing, you know, to the same God, right, for protection. So how can the same God be both?
Yeah.
Right. And also, like, you know, you have, you know, it's very common that you kind of do something like, oh, if you spend money with the monks, you know, the monks can do some kind of things, you know, to wash your sin away, right? Just like the Christian do. It's like, you know, hey, you come to confessions, do this, blah, blah, your sin got washed away. But to me, I'm like, how can you use money or some kind of commodity or something to wash
For
your
my
sin away?
spirit. Yeah, for my
Right?
spirit.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, you can't, like, we all held accountable for the things we do as a man or women or whatever, right? So to me is, all right, so you have faith, like there's a difference between right or wrong, whatever the laws is, because laws are man-made, but the faith to me is a natural law. Like, even though it's wrong in the written laws, the man-made laws, but it's right in our laws, in
Yeah.
our natural laws.
You
So that's
have to,
where
you have to believe that there's meaning.
yes, some meaning. Yeah. It's not just, you know, like, it's like, hey, in Massachusetts, like, you are automatically felon if you have something is more than 10 round of magazine. Like what does that
Yeah.
mean? Like, it doesn't mean anything.
Am I going to
But
hell
it's
now
like,
because I got 11 rounds in this magazine, you know?
oh yeah, it's crazy. But like, you know, but it's like, you know, but you see some kids being wrongly abused. Like, you stop that act, right? Regardless of what it is, like the reason why.
See?
But the
I
violent
like
act,
that. I like that. I like
right?
that.
So it doesn't matter what the cause is. It's the act that you know that act is wrong. You don't know the reasons, right? So that's what I'm saying about faith, like being a faithful man. Like, you don't need to be the religion. Say, hey, you know, you cannot, you know, you're bounded by these man laws. Like, that's what a religion is.
Yeah.
But a faith is beyond the written laws of the religion. So that's how I identify it. So to me, that's why I like, you know, Buddhism or Hinduism or even, you know,
I usually
Christians.
say live by the golden rule, like treat people how you want to be treated, you know, empathize with
Right.
people. Stuff
Well,
like that.
but that's just kind of like kind of like your respect way, but like how you think, like, you know, like we all have that alone time, you know, like, you just, you know, like we all have like that alone time is like, what am I doing? Like, almost like self-evaluation. It's like you're lost in things, you know, because of you as a father, right? So there's times that you need help, you need guidance. Like, that's beyond what we can do as men, right? So like, you have some kind of faith to, like, all right, so what can I do? You know, whoever the God is, whatever that you could be, Islam, you know, Christian, whatever case may be, there's always a higher power that come down to look upon us and make us to do the right
You
thing.
just reminded me. I'm looking up Guan Yu statues now. I gotta pray this guy again. All right, go ahead.
No, but I'm not talking about idolize something, but like, you know, this is faith. Like, you don't need to go to church every single week. You don't need to, you know, pray every single day, but yet you need to have that faith within yourself, keeping that your mind, that communication to whatever you believe, to making sure yourself is in check. That's so that's why I like, you know, more like Taoism, stuff like that, or even, you know, Christianity too.
You have to believe there's a plan and a purpose to things. Like, if you're a nihilist, if you think that we're just molecules of carbon and water floating around and, you know, fucking here and fucking there and, you know, just
is that Dr. Seuss book, fucking everywhere?
Yeah, and then just producing more carbon there. You know, if you believe that life is meaningless, right, then you will do meaningless things, right?
Yeah.
You will eat bullshit. You will,
I like that.
fuck. You know, you won't you know, you won't develop relations with people. You'll just fuck, you know, whoever, because you got a hard on from something, you know. And, you know, if you believe that life has purpose, you know, then your
You
goals,
carry yourself as such. You have conduct, you have goals, you have aspirations, you have, I like that.
And I would describe myself as a follower of Jesus. I don't, I worship God and I follow Jesus. And after the shutdowns, I had a crisis of faith. I stopped going to church because
Because the police were there,
the
right? Weren't they closing down churches?
well,
I
they
said-
Yeah,
closed
that's
down.
actually right.
They,
They did.
they allowed you to, they let you could go to the liquor store and buy booze. You could go kill your baby, but you couldn't go to church.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And when the churches finally opened, the first thing that they would ask was for money, was for donations. And
See?
and so I stopped going to church, and I felt I became not necessarily more religious.
Didn't you get closer from that experience?
Yeah, like I felt I grew, more faithful, as Alan said, and rather than sort of follow, dogma and doctrine of the church, I took my viewpoint changed. I used to have the view, the perspective of,
That's a
what-
big 4-year-old, Jason.
yeah, he's getting
Good,
taller
man.
now. I used to fear, I used to worry, if I met Jesus, would Jesus reject me, right? But then I changed, my viewpoint to, if I met Jesus, would I reject Jesus?
Oh,
Mm.
oh, oh, that's deep. Oh,
Wow.
oh.
Oh.
You know, it's interesting. All right, we're gonna have to save this for another time. We gotta get wrapped.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good end point right there.
When the children start popping up and stuff, it's time to go. Fathers can only get away for so long. All right, so I appreciate both of you guys getting on. Alan, how can people reach out to you for services in your area?
So you can go to alaufirearmstraining.com. It has all of my information there, and contact me through that website, and then my IG handle right there. So yeah, so
Okay.
IG is mostly my thing because I kicked the Facebook to the curb because I can't handle the BS on it.
Oh yes, it's Facebook that. So I'll tag your stuff on there. Thank you for
IG,
coming
yeah.
on,
Thank
Jason.
you so much.
You're gonna keep you, Jason. We're gonna have to follow up again because I want to get you on later, Alan, so we can just talk about martial arts stuff and talk about what age did you immigrate from Hong Kong? What age?
I was 13.
13. All right, so I mean, whatever you want to share. Hong Kong is one of my favorite places in the world. I love Hong Kong, and I was
Hong Kong
sad.
was good.
That's
Yeah.
why I was like rallying with the Hong Kong people when I was hearing like, oh no, and I was like, because like Hong Kong is a unique place. It's just
It's very
is.
unique. It still
got
is
its own
too, but I
character,
mean, it's just different, just different perspective, right? So, I mean, the people that kind of accepted it, they still have a good life, right? I mean, it all depends on it all depends on how you look at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like it's like one of my workers, the guy who worked for me, like he's from Uganda. Like you look at it from the outside, you might think, oh, this might not good. Why you want to live there, right? But to
Yeah.
him, like he's like, tell me all the things that the country got to offer and all the stuff is totally different. So
That's
it's like,
one of the things that I learned from a lot of my friends, because a lot of people look at Africa, especially from media, like as a very bad, blighted place. But I
Yeah.
speaking with different friends, and like any place, you're going to like your home, and there's so much there that you don't see.
exactly,
On the media,
exactly.
So
So
many
that's
good
why I
things
said,
there.
so
Jason, thank you for coming on. If there's anything you want to plug, let me know. Plug it, But I want to get you back on so we can talk about your journey to red pill, blue pill, black pill, green pill. We got to talk about the pills. You're gonna have to define them too, bro. You gotta define them for people.
Yeah,
And then I want you on too. So we're gonna have to come back around now and do this again. But go ahead, Jason.
All right,
Anything you
brother.
want to plug before we go?
Yeah, you can find me on social media. I'm Miles Medicus on the Instaho.
Insta-ho. All right, cool.
Okay.
So, all right, well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate both of you. I want you guys to continue on the best. And I will get at you later.
thank you. You have a good day. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate you guys.
No
Bye-bye.
problem.
This is great.